Hello friends, welcome to the world of project management and for a overview session on scope management. Motto of this training is to share my experience in preparing for PMP certification and prepared few slides. Let's start with my introduction. I'm Anil Kumar Dharam based in the city of Nizams, Hyderabad, working in IT for 14 years and currently working as a project lead and manager from last 4 years. I succeeded in my certification in the same year 2019 and supporting two major projects currently and giving trainings on the SAP and project management. Let's quickly move to our agenda for today's session that we are going to discuss on scope management, predictive and agile project life cycles in terms and respect to scope management and the main six processes in scope management. The scope management consisting of the plan scope management, collect requirements, define scope, create workbench structure, validate scope, and control scope. Before starting with the agile or predictive life cycles in terms of scope, I will explain about the keywords which are very important in the scope management. What is scope? Workbench structure, that is WBS, goal plating, the scope management process. First is scope. In simple words, scope is process of defining what work is required and then make sure of that work and only that work is done. It's an simple in this is an in simple way. Coming to the WBS, that is work breakdown structure, this tool enables you to clarify, identify scope as well as find the additional scope. So in this, the requirements must be evaluated against the business case, ranked and prioritized to determine what is in and what is out of the scope. So moving to goal plating, it means intentionally adding the extra features or functions to the products which are not included in the scope statement. Scope changes should not be approved if they relate to work that does not fit within the project charter. So that's why PMI doesn't suggest or support the goal plating. So this is about the scope, workbench structure and the goal plating. And at last, we'll discuss about the scope management process. Let me explain in the best 6 steps how the scope management process flows. Develop a plan for who you will plan, validate and control scope and requirements on the project. This is the first step. Coming to the second step, determine requirements. Make sure all the requirements support the project, that is business case, as described in the project charter. Moving to the third step, sort and balance the needs of stakeholders to determine the scope. Coming to the fourth step, create the work-based structure to break down the scope down to smaller parts, more manageable pieces, and define each piece in the work-based structure dictionary. Fifth step, obtain validation that the completed scope of work is acceptable to the customer or sponsor. And the last step, measure the scope performance and adjust as needed. In the real world, the requirements team will be different and the scope we work on determining the requirements are different. You must able to say no when someone tries to add unnecessary scope to your project. It adds time, cost and risk to the current project that is not at all required. Need to say as it falls under a separate project and need to go with the project approval process and so on. This is about the scope management process flow, and last we are going to discuss on product and project scope. Product scope. This is mean the end results. Example, a new airport terminal that meets all the technical specifications compared to the product requirements. Project scope. Delivers the product of the scope. Example, a new airport terminal that meets all the technical specifications plus all the work needed to be delivered the terminal. Project scope includes planning, coordination and management activities that ensure the product scope is achieved. So hope you understand the keywords. Let's move to the agile and predictive lifecycle in terms of scope. In predictive lifecycle, as I said, the scope baseline is already defined and go with the monitoring and controlling of the activities. Where in agile and adaptive life cycles, for each iteration, planning and monitoring is set. For each iteration, provides a feedback which helps for the next iteration in terms of product backlogs. So we have covered the basic introduction of the scope management and its keywords and the scope management processes. In the next video, we are going to discuss in detail about each scope management process, starting from planned scope management and ending with the control scope. Thank you.